What do you do when the most powerful alien empire in the universe declares war on your planet? If you're human, apparently you laugh. And that laugh, it just changed the fate of 15 galaxies forever. Commander Blax thought he was about to deliver the most terrifying ultimatum in galactic history. The 1,000-year peace treaty was ending, and his mighty Zephon empire was ready to show these primitive humans what real power looked like. He had conquered 15 galaxies, commanded fleets that could blot out suns, and controlled armies numbering in the trillions. But when he delivered his declaration of war, something went horribly wrong. The humans didn't beg, they didn't panic, they didn't even seem worried. Supreme Commander Blax stared at the communications screen in disbelief. His purple skin turned darker with anger. The human representative, Admiral Sarah Chen, was actually smiling at him. "Let me understand this correctly," Admiral Chen said with a grin. "You want to fight us because we won't give you mining rights to an empty asteroid near our sun?" Blax had expected fear. He had expected begging. Instead, this human seemed amused. The Zephon Empire had conquered 15 galaxies. Their war fleet could block out stars. They had billions of soldiers ready for battle. "We are the Zephon Empire," Blax had declared in his message. "We have destroyed entire worlds. The old peace treaty is over. Surrender now or we will wipe you out completely." But Admiral Chen just laughed harder. "You know we've been watching you for the past 1,000 years, right? We've studied your ships, your weapons, your battle plans. That treaty wasn't to protect us, it was to protect you." The bridge of Blax's flagship fell silent. 50 of his top officers waited for his response. His science officer whispered, "She must be lying. They have to be lying." But Blax wasn't sure anymore. Intelligence Director Cray stepped forward nervously. "Commander, we don't know much about humans now. The treaty kept us away from their solar system. We only know they were primitive when we first met them. They had basic rockets and simple weapons. And now?" Blax demanded. "We don't know," Cray admitted. "We detected strange energy readings over the centuries, but nothing clear. Maybe they advanced a little." Blax snorted. "Impossible. No species develops that fast. It took us 20,000 years to achieve space travel." His fleet admiral Vex suggested sending scout ships first, but Blax refused. "We are Zephon. We don't scout, we conquer. Prepare the full armada," Blax ordered. "All ships, all warriors. We'll show these humans what real power looks like." As his officers rushed to follow orders, Admiral Chen's final words echoed in his mind. "When you come, bring something interesting. We've been stuck in this solar system for 1,000 years with nothing to do but prepare. We're really looking forward to seeing what you've got." 3 weeks later, Commander Blax was about to discover that sometimes the prey has bigger teeth than the predator. The massive Zephon fleet reached Earth's solar system like a cosmic tsunami of destruction. 100,000 warships formed a wall of death across space. Each ship could turn a planet into molten rock with a single blast. As they approached, Blax expected alarms, defensive fleets, anything that would explain the humans' confidence. Nothing happened. When they reached Saturn, Blax was about to learn why you should never underestimate a species that laughs at death threats. Everything changed in one impossible moment. What happened next defied every law of warfare, physics, and common sense that Blax thought he understood. The planet's rings began moving. What looked like innocent ice and rock was actually billions of tiny ships, perfectly hidden until they activated, like a sleeping dragon opening its eyes. The rings of Saturn broke apart and reformed into the largest space fleet anyone had ever seen. Admiral Chen appeared on screen again, standing on a sleek bridge. "Welcome to our solar system, Commander Blax. I see you brought everyone. How thoughtful." Blax struggled to speak. "What is this trickery? Where did these ships come from?" "Oh, these?" Chen gestured casually. "We built them, all 10 billion of them. We had lots of time, remember? We automated our factories about 800 years ago. Our machines can build a complete warship every second now." "Impossible," Blax roared. "Our jobs were rich." Blax roared. "No one could build so many ships. You still build yours by hand, don't you?" Chen smiled. But what Commander Black's was about to witness would make him question everything he thought he knew about power, technology, and the very nature of reality itself. Black's ordered his fleet to attack, expecting to watch the greatest military victory in galactic history. 100,000 Zephon warships fired at once, unleashing enough destructive power to sterilize entire star systems. Space lit up with energy beams that should have destroyed any normal fleet. What happened next broke every rule of space combat that had existed for 10,000 years. The human ships didn't just dodge the attacks. They danced through the deadly energy beams like they were performing an elegant ballet of destruction. They twisted and turned at impossible speeds, avoiding every shot. Not one was hit. Those ships don't have pilot, they're controlled by computers, his science officer realized. Correct, Chen said. We call it the swarm. Artificial intelligence runs every ship. They've been practicing to fight you for 19 years. They're pretty good at it. Now it's our turn, Chen continued. Her smile faded. 1,000 human ships, tiny compared to the massive Zephon warships, flew toward the alien fleet. They didn't fire weapons. Instead, they passed right through the Zephon defense shields like they weren't there. The small ships touched 20 Zephon warships and simply phased through their metal hulls. Seconds later, those 20 warships dissolved into clouds of atoms. Phase technology, Chen explained calmly. Hard to defend against something that ignores your defenses completely. Black's had no words. This wasn't just advanced technology, it was like magic. Here's my offer, Chen said, clapping her hands. Take your fleet and go home. Sign a new peace treaty for 10,000 years. We'll pretend this never happened. And if we refuse, Black's whispered, then we'll finish our demonstration, Chen replied seriously. And the Zephon Empire will need a new commander and 100,000 new ships. For the first time in his 300-year military career, Commander Black's ordered a retreat. All ships, reverse course, he commanded, the words tasting bitter. No aggressive actions. As the Zephon fleet pulled back, Chen nodded approvingly. Wise choice. Your ships are free to leave safely. This isn't over, Black's growled. The Zephon Empire doesn't surrender. Of course not, Chen agreed with that maddening smile. You're just repositioning for future conquest. We understand completely. Black's eyes narrowed. You speak our language perfectly. We speak all 3,000 languages used across your empire, she replied, including your classified military codes. Language analysis was one of our first research projects. You've been spying on us despite the treaty, Black's accused. The treaty prevented us from coming within 5 light years of your space, Chen laughed. It said nothing about remote observation. Remote observation across thousands of light years? Impossible. Quantum communication, she explained like she was talking to a child. Instant data transfer across unlimited distances. We've had tiny observation devices throughout your empire for 950 years. They're the size of dust particles, so don't bother looking. Black's felt his rage building. You dare mock the greatest empire the universe has ever known? Greatest? Chen tilted her head thoughtfully. By what measure? Territory, sure. But technology, efficiency, scientific understanding, medical advancement. I'm afraid you're behind by several centuries. You lie, Black roared. No species advances so quickly. Most don't, Chen agreed. But most species don't have our particular combination of short lifespans, intense curiosity, and fear of death. When you know you might face extinction at any moment, it's amazing what you can accomplish. As the Zephon fleet continued its humiliating withdrawal, Black's intelligence director approached quietly. Commander, I've been analyzing the human ships. Their anti-signatures are unlike anything we know, and their numbers. Even with automation, building billions of warships would require resources beyond what one solar system should provide. Your point? Black asked. I believe they've mastered matter conversion on a fundamental level. They're creating ships from pure energy, perhaps even from empty space itself. Black's absorbed this with growing horror. If humans could create matter from energy at will, their military potential was unlimited. Admiral Chen, he said, forcing politeness into his voice, Before we leave, I must ask, why did your ancestors sign the peace treaty, if not for protection? Jen's expression softened slightly. Honestly? Pity. Pity, Lax repeated incredulously. Our scientists determined that your species represents a developmental dead end, she explained. Your evolution has reached its peak. Without outside influence, you'll remain technologically stagnant for thousands of years. Our ancestors thought giving you 1,000 years might help you advance independently before we had to interact as equals. Apparently, that was overly optimistic. The bridge fell silent. Every officer felt the sting of her words because they recognized the truth. The Empire hadn't produced significant technological advancement in generations. We will return, Blacks promised desperately. We will study, advance, and return. I truly hope you do, Chen said with genuine sincerity. The galaxy needs the Zephons to evolve beyond conquest. There are threats out there that require cooperation, not competition. Threats that neither humans nor Zephons can face alone. What threats? Blacks asked, confused. In 15 galaxies we've encountered no species more powerful than ourselves. Because they don't want to be found, Chen said mysteriously. Not yet. But they're watching, just as we've been watching you. Before Blacks could ask more, the human fleet began moving into a complex formation. The billions of ships started rotating in perfect synchronization, creating an artificial gravity well of impossible size. Space itself began to warp visibly. This is just a small demonstration, Chen said. Something to remember us by. The swirling vortex of ships suddenly collapsed inward. For a moment, it seemed like a new star was born. A blinding flash forced the view screen to darken. When the light faded, where billions of ships had been, now floated a perfectly formed duplicate of Saturn, complete with rings. Did they just create a planet? Whispered his navigator in religious awe. We'll be in touch, Commander Blacks, Shun said as her image faded. When you're ready for real conversation about the future. Until then, use your time wisely. The return to the Zephon homeworld took 3 months. 3 months of shame and silence. When Blacks finally reported to the High Council, he expected execution for his failure. Instead, they listened carefully to his account. The council chamber fell silent as he described the humans' capabilities, their hidden fleet, their impossible technology. Tell us everything, commanded the eldest counselor. Leave nothing out. When Blacks finished, Councillor Vex asked, These humans claim there are greater threats than themselves. Yes, though they provided no details. What do you propose, Supreme Commander? What cause serves the Empire best? Blacks had spent 3 months considering this. His answer would determine not just his fate, but the fate of their entire species. I propose we learn, he said simply. Learn. The humans were right about us, Blacks admitted painfully. We've become stagnant, complacent. For 10,000 years, we've conquered rather than created, stolen technology rather than developing our own. It's left us vulnerable. You suggest we abandon conquest? Growled another councillor. Not abandon. Postpone. For a century, perhaps 2. Dedicate those resources to research and development instead. And the humans? What if they choose to conquer as we have? They won't, Blacks said with certainty. If conquest were their goal, they would have begun 1,000 years ago. They possess a different kind of power, one we don't yet understand. The ancient councillor's 4 eyes fixed on Blacks. There is wisdom in your proposal, but such a fundamental shift will face resistance. Let them call it cowardice, Blacks said firmly. I've seen where waits us if we continue on our current path, a war we cannot win. I'd rather suffer accusations of cowardice than lead our species to extinction. The councillor nodded slowly. Very well. But first, there's one more matter to address. The chamber doors opened, and, to Blacks' astonishment, a human entered. Not Admiral Chen, but a tall man with dark skin and simple earth clothing. This is Dr. Jackson Wells, the councillor introduced. He arrived yesterday, alone, in a ship no larger than a shuttle. How did you reach our homeworld? Black's demanded. Your defenses were quite impressive, Dr. Wells said pleasantly. Very creative. Admiral Chen sends her regards. Why are you here? To offer assistance, Wells replied simply. And to deliver this. He handed Black's a small device that pulsed with soft blue light. What is it? The complete scientific and technological history of humanity, Wells said. Every discovery, every invention, every theoretical framework from the wheel to phase shift technology. Everything except weapons, of course. Those you'll have to figure out yourselves. Black stared at the device in disbelief. Why would you give us this? Wells smiled. Because evolution requires competition. For the past 1,000 years, humans have had none. We've advanced quickly, yes, but without external pressure, without diverse perspectives, we've become intellectually inbred. You want us as competitors, we want you as colleagues, Wells corrected. Partners, in the greater project of galactic civilization. The threats Admiral Chen mentioned are real, and they'll require more than just human innovation to overcome. What threats precisely? Wells' expression turned somber. There are spaces between galaxies where light behaves strangely, regions where the fundamental laws of physics bend. We've been studying them for centuries. Something is coming, something old, something that considers both our species nothing more than passing bacteria, and you believe we would help humanity against such a threat. I believe you'll help yourselves, Wells replied. Self-preservation is powerful motivation. And given time, and this, he nodded at the device, you might actually become the allies we need. Blacks looked at the crystal containing thousands of years of human knowledge. It would change everything. Their society, their economy, their entire way of life. It would also save them from obsolescence. We accept your offering, Dr. Wells, Black said finally, and your challenge. Wells nodded, satisfied. Excellent. In that case, I'm authorized to propose a new treaty. Not one of separation this time, but of limited cooperation. Scientific exchange, cultural dialogue, preparation for what's coming. And military matters? Let's just say how quickly we share our defensive technologies will depend entirely on how quickly you abandon your offensive ambitions. As the Council debated this unprecedented treaty, Black's found himself studying the human with curiosity rather than hatred. How had they advanced so quickly? What drove them to explore rather than conquer? What could the mighty Zephon Empire learn from a species confined to a single solar system? And most puzzling of all, why did they still laugh in the face of threats? Perhaps that would be the first mystery they'd solve. The peculiar psychology of a species that responded to declarations of war not with fear or anger, but with laughter. For the first time since his humiliating retreat from Earth, Black's felt something stirring within him. Not thirst for vengeance, not shame, but something he hadn't experienced since youth, when he'd first looked up at the stars and wondered what lay beyond. Curiosity. And as Dr. Wells began explaining his proposal for joint research initiatives, Black's found himself looking forward to the future. A future where perhaps the Zephon Empire might become something more than conquerors. Something worthy of standing alongside humanity when the real war began.